Hello, and welcome to the Between the Lines podcast. My name is Janine. I'm a clerk at the Winkler branch of South Central Regional Library.
And I'm Jess. I'm the branch administrator of the Winkler Library. So, in this podcast, what we do is, each book we break it up into two parts. The first part, we read the first half of the book, judge the cover, discuss why we chose the book that we did, and any predictions we have for the next half of the book. And then the second part, we, of course, read the second half of the book and discuss how we liked it, if we thought that it changed too much, too little. So basically, our reasoning for doing this is, I don't know about you guys, I sometimes like the book a lot less by the time I finished it, as opposed to halfway through. Or you like the book a lot more. The ending makes a lot of difference in terms of your final impressions of the book. So we thought it'd be interesting to get our impressions halfway through. There will be spoilers. I would like to remind you that we are very opinionated, but all our opinions are just opinions. If you like the book and we don't like the book, totally fine. Vice versa. If we like the book and you think it's awful, by all means, comment, let us know. But it is all just opinion-based, and it's all good fun. And with that, we get into the book.
Hello, and welcome to the Between the Lines podcast. My name is Janine.
And I'm Jess. Janine, do you want to tell them which book we picked for this week?
Alright, so this week's book is called In Defense of Witches, The Legacy of Witch Hunts and Why Women Are Still on Trial by Mona Chollet. Centuries after the infamous witch hunts that swept through Europe and America, witches continue to hold a unique fascination for many. As fairy tale villains, practitioners of pagan religion, as well as feminist icons, witches are both the ultimate victim and the stubborn, elusive rebel. But who were the women who were accused and often killed for witchcraft? What types of women have centuries of terror censored, eliminated, and repressed? Celebrated feminist writer Monica Chollet explores three types of women who were accused of witchcraft and persecuted. The independent woman, since widows and celibates were particularly targeted. The childless woman, since the time of the hunts marked the end of tolerance for those who claim to control their fertility. And the elderly woman, who has always been an object of, at best, pity and at worst, horror. Examining modern society, Chollet concludes that these women continue to be harassed and oppressed. Rather than being a brief moment in history, the persecution of witches is an example of society's seemingly eternal misogyny, while women today are direct heirs to those who were hunted down and killed for their thoughts and actions. With fiery prose and arguments that range from the scholarly to the cultural, In Defense of Witches seeks to unite the mythic image of the witch with modern women who seek to live their lives on their own terms.
Now, doesn't that sound like a light and fun afternoon read? Yeah, a little bit different than the first two that we've done, but it is intriguing, because I don't know about you, I know a little bit about the witch hunts, especially in Europe and sand trials and that kind of thing, but I've never really dug deep into it, so I was quite interested to read this book.
Yeah, as a high school student, we read that Arthur Miller book that was about the witch hunts in Salem. I can't remember what it's called now. And we went to see a play about it, actually. And at the time, I grew up being taught that witches weren't real, didn't exist, and I guess I'm skeptical, but as an adult, witches kind of fascinate me, and I read a lot of novels with witches as main characters. I'm not quite sure what it is about them, and I don't know if it started when I read Harry Potter, or if it was something else, but...
Well, that's the thing. In the foreword, one of the first things that caught my eye was, think of your first witch.
Mm-hmm.
The first witch that you can remember seeing either in a book or in a film or in real life for who knows what reason.
Yeah.
But I thought that was quite interesting, because as soon as it said, think of your first witch, I knew exactly which one.
Really?
Yeah. For me, it was the Witch in the Wingding Dilly by Bill Peet.
Okay.
She made ginger snaps, and she turned a dog into a wingding dilly, which is a combination of an elephant, a reindeer, a giraffe, a rhinoceros, and a zebra.
Oh my goodness.
It's a children's book. But that was the first witch that I remember.
Yeah, see, I couldn't really think of anything, as a kid, because that just wasn't part of, my growing up.
Yeah.
That wasn't something that my parents encouraged, and, for Halloween, I would never dress up as a witch, and so I just didn't know about witchy things back then, really. That's the other thing in the introduction. it said that Strega Nona, is that how you say it? Mm-hmm. That she's a witch. And I've never read those books, but I always just thought she was like a nice grandmotherly character. So that to me was interesting.
See, that's the thing. It's the perception of it.
Yeah.
Where you might see her as a nice grandmotherly character who, makes ginger snaps. Because she is living by herself, but very close, even though she's nice and friendly, it still could come across as witch-like behavior.
Yeah. And it talks about in this book, like, the elderly woman being perceived as a witch. So, yeah. I guess partly why we chose this also because it's October and Halloween is coming, and it just felt like it did fitting. Yeah. But as soon as I saw the cover and the title, I was like, ooh, witches, I'm going to read that.
That's the thing. It's got the instant, there's the mystique to witches. Mm-hmm. The mystery of them, and why do they do what they do? How do they do what they do?
Yeah.
Do they even do anything?
Yeah. And so, but then I was doing a little bit of research, and I found a few articles before I read the book, and I was reading one, and I was like, oh, this sounds more like a feminist book than a witch book. And so then I wasn't too sure. I will say off the bat that this book is very interesting, but it's also a good example of why I don't read a lot of nonfiction, because I fell asleep about 10 times while I was reading it. Yeah, so
it is interesting, but it does take some dedication to get through.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of information in this book. So, yeah.
Talk a little bit about the cover.
Sure.
The cover will be up on screen if this is up on YouTube, but it's a black and white picture of a witch with the basically pink scribble, is how I would describe it, behind the title In Defense of Witches, which I found quite striking and interesting.
And it's a very typical, like, witch picture.
Yes, it's the pointy hat on a broomstick, that whole shit.
Kind of cape behind her.
Yes.
Yeah. We discussed the cover. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about the cover?
No. Anyway, we read the first half of the book. What did you think?
So the first half, I thought it was really interesting. I also, like I said, fell asleep multiple times while reading it. So there was so much information, and I think I said this to you yesterday. I don't consider myself to be like a raging feminist by any means, but I was horrified by a lot of the things that I read in the first half of this book.
Yeah, that's the thing. She gets into some detail about some of the witch trials and going, okay, did not know that, and oh my word, people are insane.
Yes. Like, there was something called a witch pricker, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, that one was like, how do you apply for that job, and what has to be wrong with you?
Yeah. And like, how? So, any birthmark, scar, or irregularity could serve as proof that you were a witch, so they would, like, poke you with needles. That's just wild to me.
And they could go just to towns poking people.
Yeah.
And if I recall correctly, they could require that you had to strip naked in order so that they could just, like, poke you with a stick or pin or whatever.
Yeah.
Which just boggles my mind. Because, I mean, like, these days, if a random person came into town and says, strip naked, I need to poke you with something.
Yeah.
To see if you're a witch, they'd be reported.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you think about concentration camps too, that was the same thing they were doing there too.
Yeah.
You know? So, it's, it's really interesting to hear her thoughts about some of these things. The book is definitely more feministy than I expected. That's not a word, but...
That's a word now.
Yeah, so definitely more about that than what I was expecting, and I don't agree for sure with everything that she says.
Oh, no, definitely not. There's a couple things where I'm going, no.
Yeah.
But I was a little bit disappointed it wasn't more about witches. Granted, we've only read the first half, so
there could be more.
First quarter, I guess, was quite witchy.
Mm-hmm. The introduction
was very, very witchy.
And then she goes on to talk about, well, in the synopsis that I read, she talks about the 3 different types, right? So the first 2 chapters were the single woman, right? And then it was the childless woman.
Yes.
So that's kind of where she was going with that. And Yeah, I had a lot of thoughts when she got to the childless women chapter.
As did I.
Yeah. And I think some of our thoughts were the same, even though I have kids and you don't. At this point, I think we were kind of in agreement on some of what she talked about that we did disagree with.
We agreement with her disagreement.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
If that makes sense.
That makes sense to me. Well, that's the thing. Like, there were parts in this book where I'm going, I do not agree with that at all. I consider myself a feminist. I think women can do everything men can do, and probably with one hand behind their back. But there was still parts in this book where I'm going, you're kind of painting all women with the same brush there, and I don't agree with that.
And I think that you can be a feminist and still want to be in a traditional women's role.
Oh yeah, you could be a feminist and still want to stay at home and have kids and take care of them. That's fine. Like,
I don't think you have to choose one or the other.
No.
I think you can be both.
See, and I think that's the main point that I differ from the author in terms of opinion.
Yeah.
Is I think that you can be a feminist and still be happy stay at home mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I think that is possible.
Mm-hmm. I think that
I do not get the impression that she thinks it's possible.
No. But she does talk about why, like, her opinion is not okay, or, like, she's persecuted, for lack of a better word, for her opinions, and everybody's opinions should be valid, right? So she sounds like she's trying to say that it's okay, but you get the impression that it's really not okay with her.
The vibe that I got was that she's fairly far on the other side.
Yeah. And in my research, one of the things that I did learn was that she is known as a feminist figure in France, the author, so she's writing from that perspective as well, right? And so
that's the thing too. I did not know that the author was from France. I kind of guessed that she was.
This book, I think, was originally published in French,
on the amount of references to France, and that's the thing too, where, like I said, there's a lot of references to France in terms of stats and that kind of thing. So she's most definitely coming at the issue from the point of view of someone who's lived in a very specific country and is using stats from that country, which may be different experiences in different countries.
Well, she does talk about the U.S. a lot, too.
She talks about the U.S. Canada pops up a little bit.
Not quite as much.
Not quite as much, but there's a little bit in there.
Yeah. One thing that really struck me is that she talked about, I think it was in Michigan, the court ordered a paternity test for a boy who was born as a result of a rape, and then joint paternity was given to the rapist, which I thought was really wild.
Yep, there was points in this book where I'm going, excuse me?
I know, that's angry. And then the quote was, a woman must have a master even if he's the man who kidnapped and assaulted her when she was 12. Like,
that's the thing. He was given access to this kid.
Yeah.
And they put this guy's name on the kid's birth certificate.
Yeah.
Her rapist was given more rights than she was.
And I wonder, like, did he want those rights? Or did the court just say, this kid needs a dad, we're going to find out who his dad is, and even if he raped her, too bad, he's still the dad?
See,
I don't know.
That's the thing, I don't know. They didn't go into that part of it, but that would be an interesting thing to find out.
Yeah.
Because women's rights is one of those things where it boggles my mind a little bit. Given the fact that women have been on this planet just as long as men, how recent some of the improvements are, and still how incredibly far we have to go.
Yeah.
I think it was like the 1980s before women were allowed to have their own credit card without a man.
Yeah. And even
boggles my mind. That's in your lifetime.
Yeah.
Not to call you old, but
except you just did.
Sorry.
No, just kidding.
No, Janine is 16. Very young.
29.
29, sorry.
29. No, but even like equal pay for the same work.
Yeah.
That's something that women are still fighting for, which I think, like, it boggles my mind.
I don't understand. Like, it's one of those things where I'm just going, seriously?
Yeah.
Can we not work on fixing something else? Like, just give us equal pay.
Yeah.
And then how about we fix, climate change or something?
Yeah. And, like, not every woman is meant to be a mother.
No.
I definitely believe that there are some people out there who don't want to have kids and therefore shouldn't.
Well, that's one of the quotes I actually have here, is there are women who are born to be mothers, women who are born to be aunties, and women who should not be allowed within 10 feet of a child. It is very important to figure out which one of those camps you belong in, because sorrow and tragedy result in choosing wrong.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with wanting kids. There's nothing wrong with not wanting kids.
No, exactly.
Like,
but a woman who doesn't choose to have kids and who chooses to work instead because that's what they want to do, they should get equal compensation for that. That should all women. But I clearly remember having a conversation. There was a bunch of us, some people we knew got married, and we were together the following day after the wedding. And they said right away, we're not having kids. And almost everybody at the table was like, don't say that yet. You don't know. You might change your mind. And I was thinking, for a while I thought that. I didn't know if I wanted kids. And so I said, don't rule it out. Think about it. But if you decide it's not for you, that's okay. But everybody else was like, no, you have to have kids. And why do they have to have kids?
That's the thing that I don't understand. Why?
Yeah.
Why do I have to have a child?
Yeah. If you don't want to have a child, you should not have a child.
You didn't. No, definitely.
You don't want.
Because the last thing you want to do is bring a kid into a family where he is not wanted or she is not wanted.
Yeah.
That's not doing anybody any good.
No.
The parents are miserable because they don't want to deal with this kid that they felt obligated to have. The kid is miserable because pretty good chance that he knows that he really wants her, she knows.
Yeah.
It's just not a good situation for anybody, so just don't have kids.
Yeah. And I just definitely encourage them to think about it and keep an open mind.
Yeah.
For sure, but if that's something you ultimately decide, and that's your choice. That's not anybody else's choice.
That's the thing. Like, okay, you don't want kids now. Great.
Yeah.
A lot of people get married quite young. I frankly think some people get married too young and having kids when you're like, intentionally having children when you're 19 boggles my mind a little bit. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Your choice. Do whatever you want. Your life. But like, okay, so you get married fairly young. You don't want kids right away? But that's fine.
Yeah.
Situations change.
Yeah.
10 years down the road, you might go, yeah, I think I'm ready for kids now. Or you might go, my word, this is fantastic. All the other people that we know that have kids are miserable. We just like basically bringing the kids sugar, winding them up, and then leaving. This is an excellent life. Let's keep it this way.
And at that point, they had been married 24 hours. So,
I mean, they may have discussed it well in advance.
Yeah,
you never know.
That's possible. I don't know what they've all discussed, but at this point, that was like 5 years ago. At this point, they still don't have kids. So,
good for them.
Yeah.
Don't give in to peer pressure.
Nope, I agree. And I think you can live a full life without kids.
Oh, definitely. That's the thing that I found interesting about this quote was some women are born to be aunties. Yeah, just because you're not having kids yourself does not mean you don't have kids in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if you are committed to being a kick-ass auntie, by all means, go for it.
Yeah.
Like, if you know yourself well enough to know that you like kids, but you don't like 24/7 kids, be an aunt.
Yeah, for sure.
Kids need aunts too. Somebody has to give them sugar.
There was one part in the book where it talked about being pro-life, but also agreeing with the death penalty.
What?
Yeah.
Was I asleep during that part?
I can't remember. It was just like a one-off sentence, but there was something in there. Oh, it was talking about like the conservative, like Bible Belt in the States.
Oh, yeah.
And all these people are like against abortion, but they agree with the death penalty. And there was and I was like, how can you be against abortion but for the death penalty?
That's the thing.
To me, that does not make sense at all. And
it's that whole...
It's not really what the book is about, but it was just something that really struck me.
Brought up in there, and it is one of those things where it doesn't make sense.
No.
At all.
How?
And yet that is the case.
How can you, how
can you protect life so much that you are willing to put the mother at risk?
Yes.
And yet not care what happens after the baby's born. I don't understand that thought process. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I noticed that too, and it boggled my mind.
Yes.
Sometimes it feels like if you have kids but are a feminist, you're sort of looked down upon in a way, but like, how can you be a feminist? You're married with kids.
Yeah.
But I think one of the crucial things that people forget is, okay, yeah, I chose to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? I'm a feminist because I believe in fighting for the right to have choices for my kids if they do not want to have kids. it's not just about what affects me directly.
Right.
It's about what affects my children or my children's children.
Although the author did say in the book you should always choose yourself first, which I don't necessarily agree with.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
And that goes against everything that I was taught growing up also.
I think it is important that you stay sane and healthy.
Mm-hmm. You have to take care of your mental health for sure.
Definitely. But choosing yourself first every time is selfish.
Yes.
Like, it is good to do things for other people.
Yes.
Because otherwise you become entitled.
Yes.
And that's not healthy either.
And
because that leads towards the issue of feminism, where people think they're entitled to something just because they're men.
yeah. And maybe that's partly why I sometimes am struggling with reading this book a little bit, because maybe it's because she comes across as entitled, like just a little. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, we haven't read the whole thing,
no. So
she may. You know how it is. Authors go, okay. So now I fall to this side. Let me tell you how I was wrong.
Yeah, I don't think that this author will do that.
I'm not getting that vibe, but you never know.
So I think looking forward, the next chapter is about the elderly woman, and I'm not sure what the final chapter is. This book is only 4 chapters.
Yes,
they're
long
and very dense.
Yes.
So it's interesting, but it's also a lot of this article says this, and this study says this, and so, like I said, there's a reason why I don't read a lot of nonfiction, and what I do read is true crime usually, or biographies, because those read like novels. They're interesting. Yeah. It's not so dense usually, not always, but
it's generally told. Those specifics are generally told in a little bit more of a story format.
Yes,
whereas this is told more as a report.
Yeah, and so when you're reading like 100 plus pages at a time, it's a lot to get through.
It is.
Warning, not trigger warning. Although that might be triggering to some people, but just so you know, if you're going to pick up this book and read it,
it's not a light Sunday afternoon kind of read.
It is not,
unless your Sunday afternoon reading is very different from mine.
Yes,
mine tends to be sci-fi, so it's entirely possible.
Mine was thrillers, so you know. I mean, thrillers could include witches, but
oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so that's kind of my take so far, I guess.
I do have a couple of fun quotes here.
Yes, share them.
Gloria Steinem answering why she wasn't married. I can't mate in captivity, which I found quite interesting.
Oh, she sounds like a real fun one.
She sounds like a bit of a pistol.
Yeah,
I know I've come across her a couple times before, but I've never really looked into it.
Yeah, I don't know too much
more info than most of them. Pet peeve of mine, random fact, is being called ma'am. I hate it. I hate it so much.
I know.
It's one of those things where I just find it irksome. There's no particular root or cause that I can figure out, so it's not what I've thought of so far. But it is just I just can't take it. Which brings me to the fact that I'm coming across here, which is Ms. as a not title.
Yeah,
title.
I would say title.
Ms. is a title. I don't like being called Miss. I don't like being called Mrs. It irks me to know that men are called Mr.
Yeah.
Irregardless of age or marital status.
They're just all Mr.
They're just all Mr. Whereas we have 3. Miss, generally for younger unmarried women. Ms., which is
the mature woman.
The mature woman. Who has not yet trapped herself a husband. And Mrs., for when you've been good and fully trapped. Shouldn't be so negative on her. Marriage is fine, marriage is lovely, it is wonderful, but it irks me that women are separated into these categories, as it were. Ms., for the record, was invented in 1961 by Sheila Michaels, a civil rights activist. It originally started as a typo on a letter to someone else, which she just decided to keep because Mrs. Fisher was married. Miss was, she felt not appropriate either, because she was not a 7-year-old girl. It later kind of became a recognized and popular term when it was suggested for the Ms. magazine, since it is the exact female equivalent of Mr., which I found quite interesting. So I never really looked into the origins of it. It's always just one, check it on a form, Mrs. Yeah, the whole Miss, Mem, Mrs. thing.
Yeah.
It is a little bit of a irksome thing.
Or Auntie. Have you ever been called Auntie?
Don't get me started on that.
I hate that.
When random people say, for example, in the library, give the book to the auntie. I am not your auntie. I know. To me, an auntie or an aunt is a person that is close to you or the family, a position of trust. You should not trust me. Don't get me wrong, I'm trustworthy. I will make sure your kid doesn't run out into traffic. But you are now inferring that this kid should trust me as much as they do a family member.
Yep.
He should not. They should not. Not in any way, shape, or form. I am to them a stranger. I would much rather they say, give the book to the stranger.
That's fine. Or, I don't like this either, but the lady.
Yeah, the lady's fine.
Yeah. But, I'm an auntie to 10 kids. That's it.
Yeah.
Those are my people. I'm not your auntie.
Well, then I feel like I'm responsible for you. I'm like,
I'm not going to treat you like I treat my nieces and nephews.
No.
Sorry, but don't call me auntie.
Sorry. No. I was always thinking how confusing those people kids. That person there, which gives you a present every birthday as an auntie, but that person there who just walked past you didn't recognize you because you're knee height is also an auntie.
Yeah.
One person that pays attention to you and, encourages you and that kind of thing, and one person that doesn't remember you exist.
Exactly. Or has never seen you before in their life.
Exactly. That's got to be confusing to them. I don't know. Maybe kids are more resilient or more.
I just don't know who came up with that or thought it was a good idea.
I don't know, but I highly disagree. Because the thing is, too, you don't get that in the opposite.
Yeah.
Give your books to the uncle. Give your books to the uncle,
that's creepy.
That's just creepy. But then, that's the thing. Creepy uncle is the thing. That's a stereotype. True. So, another fun fact, and this one boggled my mind a little bit. In 1484, Pope Innocent VIII declared all cats seen in the company of women were familiars, and thus the women, if they were seen in the company of a cat, were witches. Both cat and a woman were to be burned. This led to a shortage of cats and an increase in rats and disease, which of course was blamed on witches. You're down if you do, you're down if you don't.
It's so true. I think if we can take anything away from this book is that.
There's no way of winning. You just can't.
You really can't.
No. Any final thoughts other than you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't?
No. Just I hope I can make it through the next half of the book without falling asleep 10 times.
The thing is, I think now that I've kind of gotten started, I'll be fine. But yeah, it's a little bit difficult to get into. And
I actually enjoyed the introduction the most, to be honest, because it had the most witchy things.
Most witchy? Yeah. Yeah, that's so. I don't know. We'll see if she gets back to witches a little bit more. I wouldn't be surprised if she does a little bit in the third chapter, because it's a bit more of elder women.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that random rant over, we will see you for the next part.
And we're back to discuss the second half of In Defense of Witches. So, Jess, what did you think?
Well, I will say the second half wasn't any easier reading than the first half, but, I knew what I was getting into with the second half. Whereas the first half was kind of like, oh my word, this is dense.
Yes.
The second half, I mentally prepared for it. But it was... Put it this way, I do not agree with all the author's points. I think she's wrong on many various aspects. And, I'm a feminist. Women's rights, yes, please. I think we can do anything that men can do. So on and so forth. I did not get the impression that the author thought that men could do anything that women can do. Because that is part of equality. If women can go out and get a job and, do everything men can do, men can also do everything that women can do.
Well, there's one thing women can do that men can't do.
That's true. If rather difficult and painful thing.
Yes.
Which we'll get into later. I made a note here, because the second chapter, or the third chapter, what was it called?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's take a look. The Dizzy Heights.
Right.
It was about older women.
Older women, and she went on for quite a while about men divorcing their wives for younger women, and just the way she phrased some of the stuff was like, all men do it, and I don't know, it felt like a very one-dimensional take on men as a half of the species.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to stand there and go, men are great, they're fantastic, because not all of them are. But it kind of seems like she's going, well, when you hit 45, I don't care how good your marriage is, or how nice of a man your husband is, he's going to start looking for a younger model.
Yeah, no.
Like, and I'm like, that's not how it works. There's plenty of men out there who are perfectly lovely people.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt like she was lumping them all into one category.
Yeah. And that, in my life, has not been my experience at all. Like, if I look at my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, like, none of them are divorced in my family. And in fact, my grandpa, when he was in his last months of life and he was in the hospital, my grandma had died when I was about 5 years old, I think. And so he never remarried. He never even looked at another woman after she passed away. That was not even an option for him. She was the one. And I remember him visiting him in the hospital, and he talked about her and how he had always known her. And then one day it was like, oh, so her name was Nettie Bach, and he was like, she was just Nettie Bach. And then one day she was like, oh, Nettie Bach, and the fact that she had been gone for like, I think close to 20 years at that point, and that he still talked about her that way.
That's the thing.
That's not all men are pigs.
No, she paints all men with the same brush. And I'm like, that is not fair.
Yeah.
Like, yes, some men really suck.
Yeah.
You're not going to catch me disagreeing with that.
Yeah.
However, not all men suck.
No.
Like,
no.
Not even close. And when the third chapter kind of started off with that, it kind of aggravated me a little bit.
And I remember thinking, oh, I like this chapter way less. And I'm not sure if it's because I am sort of getting into that age bracket now that she was talking about. And, like, am I feeling, like, attacked? Or is because she's talking about what's coming up in my not-so-distant future anymore? Mm-hmm. Or is it just that it's less good? And it's maybe a combination of...
I'm farther away than you are from the dreaded 45. And that chapter pissed me off.
Yeah.
Because she kept going on and on about how women shouldn't have to dye their hair or wear makeup or cling to the ideal standards of youthfulness and beauty.
Yeah.
But at the same time, not completely discounting and in fact kind of snubbing and looking down on the women that choose to because they want to.
Yeah.
Not because they feel they have to because of societal pressures or because whatever man in their life or people in their life expect them to, but just because they go, I want to dye my hair. I want to wear makeup.
I'm more comfortable with myself this way.
Exactly.
Why isn't that okay? Like, I have friends who started to go gray in their hair.
Sorry, no, skin tone.
I have friends whose hair started to gray when they were in high school already, and so they were dyeing their hair. Like, what 17-year-old wants to have gray hair?
Yeah, and if they do, awesome.
Then that's
sweet.
fine.
They can.
But there's nothing wrong with dyeing your hair because that's how you feel comfortable.
Exactly.
Like,
and it might just be that's the way you like yourself.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks.
And
doesn't matter if that's what's like. She's so quick to go, it's society that's making you do that.
Yeah.
No, they're individuals. It's their individual choice.
Yeah.
Do some of them feel pressured by society and societal norms? Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. But some of them just want to have blue hair.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people just like to wear makeup.
Yeah.
I don't wear makeup a lot, but I like to put it on. I just think it's
nice
fun.
to spruce up every once in a while.
And it's just like the act of doing something different with your face, right? Like,
it's like playing dress up when you're a kid.
It's fun. Yeah. But I don't feel like I have to.
No.
But I can if I want to, and there's nothing, like, she's, like, feminist to the extreme, I feel like. Like, she has gone so far away from, like, women's rights to, like, every single decision a woman makes is dictated by society, and that's not right, and how dare you, like, not think for yourself.
How dare you do anything, even if what you think for yourself is, yes, today I would like to look nice because I feel like I want to look nice
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And judges that.
Yeah. But then also, I think, and I don't know that she really talks about this, but as other women, we need to stop commenting on those things for women too. Like, I know sometimes if I put on makeup, people look at me and like, oh, put makeup on, oh, you look really nice today. And I'm like, as opposed to all the other days when I look like crap. Or,
exactly.
You know, like, things like that. I think sometimes we just need to stop commenting on other people's appearance.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's nice. It's nice when somebody tells you look nice. But at the same time, sometimes it's like, did I not look nice before? Or,
exactly.
You know, or like, one thing I've been seeing a lot on social media, especially lately, is weight loss or weight gain. And you don't always know the reasons behind the weight loss or weight gain.
No.
Right? And so just don't comment on it because maybe that person has cancer and you don't know it and they're going through treatments and they've lost a lot of weight. Or they had to start a new medication that caused them to gain a lot of weight.
Exactly.
And they can't help it. Like,
there's a million medical conditions that affect weight without it ever being, I ate 15 candy bars today.
Yes, exactly.
Like, you have no idea.
Yeah. And so I think, like, we need to stop assuming that women are always doing these things on purpose or they are doing these things because they want society to view them in a certain way.
Yeah.
And just think, okay, they're doing this because they want to do this, whatever. I'm not going to comment on it because, you know,
what
like,
does it matter to you?
Exactly.
Like, I gained weight. I'm sorry, are you concerned I'm going to squish you? Stay out of my personal bubble and you'll be fine.
That's right. I mean,
what does that matter to you?
In general, you should stay out of my personal bubble.
I heartily agree. I vote we do social distancing for the rest of our lives because it was beautiful.
I also didn't mind the social distancing. I do have to say, one thing that she talked about, though, that really struck me, and it's a really tiny little whatever, but she talked about women with white hair and how women with white hair, or somebody had said, I don't know if she was saying or somebody had said, women who have white hair should keep their hair short because women who have long white hair, it always looks messy and like chaos and whatever. And then I started to think about the women I know with long white hair, and that is not untrue. A lot of the women I know who have long white hair, it always looks unkempt. And why is that?
I don't know.
Is it because, like, the texture of the hair and it's hard to tame it? Because I know when it turns white, it's a different texture. I think. I don't have white hair, so I don't really know. But like, this is really neither here nor there to the rest of the book. But it was something that really struck me. Like, why is that true?
I don't know. I know a couple people with white hair that's long, but it's not.
Okay.
But at the same time, I think that's a judgment on, put it this way, I don't know about you, but I'm going to hit that age at some point when I get older where I'm going, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm old.
That's true.
Like, I'm not going to stand in front of the mirror 20 minutes every morning and do my hair because I'm old. I can do what I want now.
That's true. That's a good point. But I think,
I think that is probably at least part of it.
Yeah.
And more power to them.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it's their right.
Yeah. Another thing she said that I thought was interesting is how women often have less confidence than men, which I think is absolutely true.
Oh, 10 out of 10.
Yeah. And I just found that so interesting. And I think a lot of that maybe has to do with how we're raised.
Oh, completely and totally.
Like, I know when I was younger, I wanted to spend a summer in Jamaica. And I was 20. And my parents were like, no way, no how. No.
It's too dangerous for you.
It is too dangerous for you. And granted, I was a very naive 20-year-old. So, I grew up in a small town and, pretty sheltered. I'd never gone to a school with more than 100 students. I never lived, the farthest away I lived was in Winnipeg, and I lived on the dorms at my school. So yeah, they weren't wrong. But a couple of years later, my brother wanted to go on a trip to Africa. No big deal. Right?
See, that's the thing.
It was a bit of a different situation because he was going with a group of people for a conference. But, and that's, I get that. And that's part of the times, right, too. And, that's how my parents grew up. And we have lower expectations for women, I think.
That's the thing that got me. My teenagehood, whatever the correct term is, because it's not childhood at that point. I had a very strict curfew. I had to be home by 11. Raise all kind of hell if you're not home by 11. And they had to know where I was at all times. Who was I with? What were we doing? My brother, when he was the same age, he'd come home at 2 in the morning. My mother had no idea where he was, who he was with, what they were doing. And his group of friends significantly rowdier than mine. Completely different, and I can handle myself better than my brother can. I may be biased in that opinion, but the reality is, the only difference really, I was a girl.
Yeah.
But that goes right back to, take a look at the baby clothes and bibs and stuff you can buy. Future scientist, daddy's little girl.
Yeah.
Future fireman, pretty princess.
Yeah.
We're told from birth, repeatedly, that half of our appeal is in our looks, and that our brains and our abilities don't matter as much. Whereas men, how often do you see pretty prince?
Never.
Never.
Never, ever, ever.
Never in a million years. It's, you can be anything. You can do anything. You can conquer the world. You can make sure you look good while he's doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think, how should I put this? I don't think that growing up wanting to get married and have kids is wrong.
No.
If that's what you really want.
If that's what you actually want, fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you know what you want to do with your life, just as I'm happy if you know that you want to be a scientist and go to the moon.
Yeah. And I don't like feeling like I can't do what I want to do because I'm a woman.
I'm very, very against that.
But even, like, my parents are from a different generation, and when I was already married and I had a kid, and my friend was living in Paraguay and she was getting married in Paraguay, and another friend and I were talking about going down for the wedding, and my parents, again, were like, do you really think that's a good idea, and it's far, and it's a lot of money? There's all these things, right? And I was like, if it was with my brothers, would we be having the same conversation? I don't know. Maybe they would have.
That's the thing, where it's, but it's so dangerous, because you're a woman.
But I wouldn't be alone. I wouldn't have been alone. I would have gone with a friend, and my friend's family was all there, and we knew her family. And
you're not going to an Airbnb where you don't know who they are.
No.
You're going with a relatively safe group of people who know the area.
Yeah. And yeah, my friend, spent part of her growing up years in Paraguay with her family, so, and not to say anything bad against my parents, because, they raised us the best way that they knew how. And
they're a product of the society they were raised in.
And that's just it, right? And they see different things in me than I see in myself, and they have different, other people see different things, right? And so maybe they're just, based on the fact that sometimes I struggle with anxiety, and so maybe they think, well, that's not a good idea. You shouldn't be, and they're concerned for me, and I appreciate that. At the same time, yeah, if it was one of my brothers, would the conversation have been the same?
In my experience, it's a conversation that's never held, because it's fine. He's a guy. He can handle it.
Yeah, I don't know, and I know that's how they were raised. That's what they think, and yeah. I just afraid they're going to listen to this and feel bad, and that's not what I want.
Sorry, Janine's parents.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not that at all. It's just, they also raise valid points, right? And there are, to this day, I've never really traveled anywhere alone, with the exception of the time that we went to Alberta. We flew there. Mike had to stay for some meetings, so Olivia and I flew home. But it was one flight, Edmonton to Winnipeg. We got off.
Pretty safe.
My parents picked us up at the airport, it wasn't a big deal. It was within Canada. It wasn't I've never traveled alone aside from that.
See, that's the thing. I do travel alone. Not outside of Canada, but I'll go on road trips and stuff by myself. Yeah. Because I enjoy it, and I am fantastic company. I like it. I get to go where I want. If I go, hey, look, that over there. Whee! We just go.
Yeah.
If I decide to stop somewhere, we stop. If I decide to keep going, I keep going.
Yeah.
I very much enjoy traveling by myself. It freaks out everybody else in my family. Because they're like, what if you have a breakdown?
Yeah.
I know where I am, I know where the nearest town is, and there's always somebody that has a garage, or knows a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about it, thanks. I've got a full set of tools, and a brain in my head. Why are you so worried about it?
Yeah.
If you're so worried, teach me how to fix problems.
Yes.
So that they are not problems.
Yeah.
But it freaked out everybody. I told my grandma, just go, by yourself? Aren't you scared? No.
Now, having said that, I did fly to the East Coast by myself when I was 20.
There you go.
Instead of going to Jamaica, I went to Halifax. I flew there by myself, but my friend we met there, and we spent the summer there together doing internships. So I wasn't there by myself. It was just the traveling part. So it's relatively safe when you're on a plane flying within Canada, I feel like. And especially then, like that was 2000, right?
And
flying was a
real.
totally different thing.
If, say, there's a hijacker on the plane, it's not because you're a single young female traveling by yourself any more than it is that businessman traveling by himself. Yeah. If something's going to happen on a plane, it's you being with somebody else or being with a guy isn't going to make a difference. Yeah. Does he know how to reattach a wing? I don't think so.
But this was also pre 9/11, right? So that was never that was never even a thought, right? But my friend and I had taken a road trip to Regina one summer, and we were on our way home. We crossed the border into Manitoba from Saskatchewan. We were like, oh, it smells really sweet. This is the sweet smell of Manitoba. And then all of a sudden we looked, and there was like steam coming out of the hood. So fortunately, there was a gas station like right there. We pulled in and like opened the hood and like smoked whatever. I know nothing about cars because I had brothers. They took care of all my car stuff. Then I got married, and my husband took care of all my car stuff. I never had to take care of car things. I don't even know how to change a flat tire, to be honest. That sounds
you
really
need
bad.
To learn that.
That's bad, I know. I could probably do it if I had to, I think. But anyway. So I got on the phone with Mike. My friend got on the phone with her dad. They were trying to tell us what to do. And then there was a man who would come to fill up his car with gas or something. And so he started helping us. And he was like, this is my wife. I would want somebody to help her. And I was like, yes, here we are, two helpless women know nothing about cars. And it was, yes, should I know more about cars than I do? Probably. Have I always had a man to take care of those things? Also, yes.
See, that's the thing. Like, I was rather insistent about learning how to do I'm not going to rebuild the engine on my car. Not going to happen. But I know how to change the oil. I know how to, change the wipers, washer fluid, change a tire, that kind of stuff. Because I've always had the attitude of, if he can do it, I can do it. Yeah. And why should my delicate female hands stop me? Yeah. Like, no, I am perfectly capable. Yep. And so I made my dad teach me all this stuff. And fortunately, my dad is relatively progressive. And he's like, yeah, if you own a car, you should learn how to do this stuff. Like, sweet, perfect.
That's the thing, right? But I owned a car, I had two brothers, I had a dad. They're all very mechanically inclined. Mm-hmm. They take care of those things. Even when I moved to Winnipeg, my older brother lived there, I had car trouble, I would call him and he would come help me. I had good brothers who took care of me. But it never occurred to me to think any differently. Like, I was raised, the women did the inside work, the men did the outside work. With the exception of mowing lawn or gardening, like those kinds of things. But I grew up on a farm, right? So my brothers helped with all of the farm stuff. I helped with all of the inside. I did the women's work, they did the men's work. And it never really occurred to me or to think any differently. Like, that was just how it was. 90% of the people I knew, that was what their life was. That was, like most of my friends' moms were stay-at-home moms. They didn't have jobs outside the home. It just wasn't a thing.
Most of the people when I was growing up, it's the same thing. It's kind of, stay-at-home work. I don't know where the heck I came from and got all my crazy left-wing ideas.
Well, that's the thing, because I feel like we were probably raised in similar households.
Well, to a point, like, growing up, the men did the men's work and the women did all the work. Okay. Like, I did everything from baking buns and laundry, cleaning the house, to throwing bales and shoring cattle and stuff. Like, I did everything.
Yeah. I'm also allergic to the outdoors, so I couldn't do half those things without getting horribly sick. But
see, that's the thing. Like, because I was always raised having to do a bit of everything, it never occurs to me that I can't do everything, even when it sometimes should occur to me. Yeah. Because there's times when it's like, you don't need to do that. Yeah. Go hire somebody. You don't need to do that. Yeah. But I don't know. Again, that might be where some of my anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you comes from. Oh, yeah. I don't know. It's my dad's quite insistent that, if you drive a car, you should know how to at least change a flat on the side of the road. Yeah. For all of his progressiveness in that direction, my sister needed to change the oil in her car the other day, and she wanted to do it herself, because last time she had a bit of trouble with something, and Dad ended up just doing it. And she's going, but I'm not entirely sure if I remember how. So I talked her through it step by step by step by step, and my dad was sitting there. And at the end, I'm going, is that right? Yeah. And he was simultaneously, it seemed, proud and slightly annoyed that I knew exactly what I was talking about. And I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
I'm not an idiot.
No.
I do know how to do stuff.
It's not to say I don't know how to do stuff, but I also don't have a problem. Like, if Mike was out of town and I had car trouble, I would call my dad. And I'm not ashamed to say that because
my dad's coming down today to fix a few things around the house because I just don't have time.
yeah.
Can I figure it out? Yes, with the help of YouTube and a bit of trial and error. I can figure out how to replace the kitchen tap. But the reality is, I'm tired. I don't have time. I'm putting in 10-hour days.
Yeah.
I do not have the patience to deal with that right now.
Yeah.
And if he's offering, yes, thank you, I will accept your help. I am not too proud to accept help.
Yeah.
Even if it does come from a dastardly man.
What's your dad? Dads like to do that kind of thing.
That's the thing. And I appreciate it, and I'm glad.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
But
Could I do it myself? Definitely.
I also think to a certain extent, with this whole women can do it all thing, we've gone a little bit too far in the opposite direction. Like, society was never created for us to have to do it all. So,
No.
have a household and raise a family and work full-time outside of the house. That was never how society was set up.
No, that's
the thing. And, so it seems like a lot of times women work, they take care of the house, men work.
Men sit in the house.
I mean, I can't say that because Mike helps out a lot at home. And so for us, that's not the case. But there are a lot of things that I think about that he never thinks about.
That's the thing.
In regards to, kids and appointments and there's a mental load that women have that men just don't. Most men.
We're thinking about Christmas presents already.
Exactly.
They think about it December 24th.
Yeah. And, even things like, school's starting soon. What do the kids need? And, we need to make doctor's appointments, or we need to do this, or,
I need to do laundry now because I have this tomorrow and this the next day after, and she's going to make these clothes the day after that.
Yeah, exactly. Tomorrow's picture day, I gotta send a check to school, or whatever,
And it's not to lump all men into the same category, because there's definitely some that are way more organized than me, and bless them for it.
Absolutely.
But I get what you're saying. There's an inequality in that women have picked up jobs outside of the home and picked up careers and that kind of thing, but men have not picked up doing more stuff inside the home, or grocery shopping, or basic life skills. And again, I might be biased because, like I said, I did women's work and then I did the men's work.
Yeah.
But my brothers very, very specifically only did the men's work.
Yeah.
So I will freely and totally admit that I am biased. But at the same time, you do see it around you.
Yeah. And, like I say, Mike is very good. He does laundry, he cooks, he cleans, whatever. He doesn't always think of all the things on his own, though. He'll say to me, what do I need to do? I always have to be the one carrying the mental load of everything.
You have to be the Jiminy Cricket on my shoulder.
And that's the thing, I think, that struggles, because, and I saw, a video about this online the other day, how women are, it's not just the parenting and the working and whatever, it's the, we need to get this, we need to do this, we should have these people over, we should do this, tomorrow is soccer, tomorrow, the next day is ballet. Women are, doing all of the mental part of it, and that is exhausting.
Oh, it is.
And so I think when you try and add a career and a job into that mix as well, that's not how the society was built. Society was built for the women to be at home, the men to go out and support the family. And I have no problem with working. And if that's how society wants society to run, they got to make it possible for families to be able to live on one income also.
That's the thing, that's not possible in the slightest these days.
Yeah.
Heck, 2-income household full time.
Yeah.
It's still difficult.
It is still difficult. And having said all of that, I always thought I would grow up and be a stay-at-home. I don't think I'm built for stay-at-home momhood, to be honest.
I know myself well enough to know that is not happening.
And also saying that, I work part-time usually. And so it's a good balance for me that I can be home part of the time and go and work and be around people and, do something that fulfills me also. Which I also don't think is wrong.
No.
It's just, I don't know that there's a right answer in how to...
I think it's different for everybody.
Yep.
That's
you gotta figure out what works.
I know myself well enough to know that being a permanent stay-at-home mom would be difficult for me. I know exactly what my outlet would be. It would be sculptures, and it would be crazy things. And as fun as I find that, you still have to be around people that say more than gaga. Adults.
Yeah.
I don't know, being around kids, and pretty much only kids, and or my invisible husband, all the time. And yes, there's playgroups and mom groups and blah, 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 blah. I need something that's me.
Yeah.
And a job does that. And I enjoy my job. Like, I don't think I could do just one or the other.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the things, too, with, speaking of children, one of the quotes that I highlighted here from the book, where I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know what the heck is going on with you, lady, but you may need to talk to a therapist. The quote I have here is, one of the reasons I have avoided motherhood is that nothing on earth could persuade me to guide a new person through the terrible ordeals known as childhood and adolescence. I could not stand to relive them through my child, to see my child tested by the same trials, the same tasks, to come up against the same setbacks due to awkwardness, naivete, and ignorance. What? I'm sorry. Like, literally, I'm sorry for whatever childhood you had that was that bad.
Yeah.
But as a parent, or not yet a parent, I view my job as to raise a little human being, to be a big, fully functioning human being, and try to make their childhood enjoyable and help them learn stuff. Childhood should not be just a phase to get through, to suffer through.
No.
And if that's her attitude towards raising a child, yeah, it's a good thing she's not having a kid. Like, I'm looking forward to having kids. The crazy, let's draw on the walls. Maybe let's not draw on the walls. Or, hey, did you know wallabies have square poop? Just the random things that kids say. I'm looking forward to that.
Like, I saw a picture on Facebook or somewhere. A kid had colored on the wall, and so the dad put a frame around it.
Yeah.
And, put a little sign with their name, whatever, art piece installed on this date, or... you have to have a sense of humor about it.
That's
obviously.
The thing.
But
I'm looking forward to the craziness and just the things that kids say.
Yeah. And you could also have the attitude of, if your childhood was that horrible, do better.
Yeah, take it as a challenge to make your kid's childhood as excellent as it can possibly be.
But she obviously should not be having children with that attitude.
That's the thing.
But also a lot of the things she said in the book were like,
yeah.
I don't even know if she is, what her, marital status or that kind of thing is. It never says anywhere. So I wonder, kind of, all the information I could find on her specifically was, related to her work. And
which, to be fair, it's her work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But usually they do put in a little personal something, but there was, nothing.
No.
Except that she's known as a feminist figure in France.
And I don't think, honestly, my overall feeling about this book is it's not a positive feminist book.
Mm-hmm.
It's not uplifting. It's not, I'm women, hear me roar. No, or this is what happened to women in the past, let's do better.
Yeah.
It feels a bit judgy.
It's very negative towards society.
Exactly.
And women who choose to do the thing that is quote-unquote expected.
Well, even just her opinion of men in general.
Yeah.
One of the things I have here, I was copying a lot of quotes because I'm going, what the hell? Weddings. And she had the example of one wedding where the groom, in the marriage vows anyway, did not promise fidelity, which was embarrassing to the wife, obviously. But her comment on that is, even when they take part with good grace and give the impression of full involvement, men who have assimilated their conditioning will still remain single at heart in the sense that they never entirely buy into the shared life their partners aspire to. They will accept it as a task, a nuisance, and a risk. They just want a peaceful life. That is very derogatory towards men.
Yeah, she's very cynical, it sounds like.
Is that the case for some men? Definitely. Is that also the case for some women? Definitely.
Yeah. It goes both ways.
And
for sure.
That level of negativity and vilifying men, I don't agree with. Because that is not equality. To me, feminism is about equality.
Yeah.
I want to have the same rights as you, and I want to be paid the same amount as you. I do not want to be paid more than you unless I'm doing more.
Yeah. Equal pay for equal work, right?
Yeah. And I have no right to have more rights than you do, because then we go in the opposite direction, and that causes more problems.
I think for me, the thing really is that I feel like people should be able to make their own choices about how they live their lives without judgment. And if you want to be a scientist, be a scientist.
Yeah.
If you want to be a stay-at-home mom, be a stay-at-home mom. Do what you want to do and what is fulfilling for you. And if you don't want to have kids, don't have kids. And we need to stop judging other women for their choices.
Exactly.
And I think that's maybe the biggest thing of all. This comes across as very judgy. and very cynical.
That's the thing. It felt like she was judging women didn't make the same choice that she made.
Yeah.
And just couldn't fathom or comprehend why someone would want to have a child or be a stay-at-home mom or dye their hair. Like, it felt that there wasn't any attempt to understand the other side of the picture, which I don't agree with. Because I think that is one of the key parts of resolving conflict, is try and understand what the other side, where they're coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like, did I think I would grow up to be a person who put their kids in daycare? Never. And I always used to judge people who put their kids in daycare because why are you having kids to put them in daycare? I don't think daycare is necessarily a bad thing anymore. You know, it socializes your kids. They learn how to be with other kids and kids of different ages, too.
Different ages, different ideas. It teaches them how to get along in a society where somebody will steal your markers. Yeah. And little Timmy is annoying.
Yes. Caitlin was saying to me just this morning how all the kids steal her toys. The littler ones at daycare, they steal my toys and then they don't play with me. They just take them and do something else with them. But at the same time, one of the little babies was learning how to stand up on his own, and she came home and was so excited about seeing that, you know, and she will never have a younger sibling, so now she gets to experience that. And so, you know, like, there are benefits, and it was just so fun to see the excitement on her face of what he stood up all by himself, and, like, it was just really cute.
So excited about things like that, and that's awesome. That's again why I want kids, because they get thrilled. Like, the sky is blue, there's a cloud shaped like a bunny.
Yes,
and that makes their day. It's like, okay, my day was crap, but you're happy, so I'm happy.
I know. So yeah, to me, that's really the thing. Like, I think I've said this before. I'm not a hardcore feminist by any means. I just think, you know, live your life the way that makes sense to you. It doesn't matter what other people think.
Yeah, don't hurt anybody, but...
No, obviously. But, like, if you want to work. If you don't, that's fine, you know? I mean, I get sometimes you don't have a choice in some of those things. Like...
But it's still, I don't know. I have... It was not a bad book. It was an educational book.
Yeah.
But I definitely do not agree with the author on a solid 50% of her points.
And I was really hoping for more witchy content.
Yes, I wanted more witches.
Very disappointed with that.
But that's the thing too. For all of the witchy content and all of the women having been persecuted throughout the generations, no mention of the Spartans or the Vikings or any of these societies where women had rights. In Sparta, a woman who died in childbirth was given the same rights, the same funeral processions and stuff like that, as warriors who had died in battle. Like, women have had rights. In Scandinavia and the Viking era societies, you could get divorced. You could own property. Was it at the same levels we are now? No. But in comparison to a lot of other societies and area at that time, it was quite progressive. No mention of the positives, or the positive parts of history. Just the negatives.
And was the point of the book, right? Like, the subtitle is The Legacy of the Witch Hunts and Why Women Are Still on Trial. Well, did she talk about witch hunts a little bit in the introduction?
More in the intro.
The introduction was my favorite part of the book.
Yeah, completely and totally.
And then why women are still on trial. Well, obviously she thinks that women are still being executed and whatever. And some of the things she says, okay, they're not wrong. And have women experienced horrible things through history? Absolutely. But she's just very cynical.
It's very cynical and very negative and not, I don't know. I think there's better books on feminism than witch hunts out there.
Yeah.
One of the things that got me too is she talks about the men divorcing their wives and then marrying someone, 20, 30 years younger. However, and she speaks about that in a negative connotation. But then she has the example here of a little before she turned 50, Chollet began a relationship with Bertrand de Jabin, her husband's 17-year-old son. Then at 52, she met Maurice Godkid, who was 36 and became her third husband, and talks about it in a positive way. If you're encouraging women to divorce their husbands and get a younger model, you can't judge men quite so harshly for doing the same thing. So there's kind of that,
it's like,
what applies for one doesn't necessarily apply for all, it seems, it's...
equality until you're doing something that I don't like, but I want to do for myself.
Exactly.
Yeah, so...
It was interesting. Definitely an interesting book. I cannot deny that. However, there's the Valkyrie book. Again, nonfiction, feminism, and women in the Viking Society. That I'm quite looking forward to reading, because I have a feeling it will be an entirely different take than this. And, I don't know, hypothetically, maybe, we'll cover it on the podcast. We'll see. Janine's going, no. I suffered through this one, we're not doing it again.
Well, I don't know, like, it depends. It's not, like... Did I really power through the last two chapters and try to skim? Absolutely. Absolutely I did. Did I learn stuff? I did. Did I want more witches?
Yes.
100%.
I wanted more witches.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, on that note, I did find some fun witchy facts. Because the book talks about I thought it was going to talk about witches. So, I'm going to share a few of those facts.
Excellent.
Most witches weren't actually burned at the stake. In fact, during the Salem witch trials, not a single witch was burned to death because it wasn't permissible by English law. However, one witch was executed by being pressed together by large stones. The only person in U.S. history to be pressed to death by court order.
Pressed together by large stones.
Yep. Pressed to death. Can you imagine?
It sounds awful.
It does sound awful. Yep. So, I mean, there's some misconceptions about witchy things.
But I think, too, witches, a lot of it is quite... We'll say the witch trials is specifically touristy.
Yeah, for sure.
As opposed to historically accurate.
Yep. So, the other fact, people could be convicted of witchcraft without any solid evidence. During the Salem witch trials, most of the legally recognized evidence used against those accused of witchcraft amounted to spectral evidence, or witness testimony that the accused person's spirit or spectral shape appeared to him or her in a dream at the time the accused person's physical body was at another location.
I dreamed about you. You're a witch!
Yes. Which was accepted on the basis that the devil and his minions were powerful enough to send their spirits, or specters, to pure religious people in order to lead them astray. Other evidence used against them were so-called witches' marks on their skin that allegedly proved that they had made pacts with the devil. Contemporary research suggests these marks were possibly small, ordinary lesions. So I'm guessing like maybe even like a birthmark or something like that, or a mole or whatever. So if that's the case, I have some witches' marks also.
You're a witch! I'm not a witch, I'm your wife.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. So anyway, yeah, there's just some interesting facts.
Which is like me. I dreamed about you, you're a witch.
Yeah, exactly. Your spirit appeared to me while your body was still at your house.
Oh, man. No, that's the thing. Like, there's no doubt that women have not had the easiest time of it through history. Mm-hmm. Not, like, this... But at the same time, I feel like she's judging quite harshly. Like, current women quite harshly.
Mm-hmm. To the extreme.
To the extreme. It was an interesting book, but not one that I would use.
No. And would I recommend it?
If you were interested in history, yes. I would recommend it, but I'd also recommend you read a different feminism book as a chaser, because you need something that balances. Mm-hmm. This is quite negative, you need to read something quite positive.
Yeah. I don't know if I personally would recommend this one, but... Except maybe the introduction, which I found quite interesting.
Yes, read everybody check it out, read the introduction, return it.
Yeah. And, yeah, like, if feminism is something that interests you, then definitely this is a good book for you.
That's the thing. Historically, it's... Well, I can't even say historically, because yes, she had a lot of examples from history in, like, the first half. The second half, she kept referencing, like, films and books, and I'm going, you can't reference, like, fiction and draw non-fiction conclusions from it.
Yeah,
like,
that was the other thing.
In this film, so-and-so was treated this way. It's a movie.
It's a movie.
That's like me going, well, we can see that aliens are actually horrible life forms, because if you look at the movie Alien, they weren't super nice.
Well, there's a lot of things we tolerate in movies that we wouldn't tolerate in real life, because we know that it's fiction.
Exactly. And a 2-hour movie or 300-page book does not encapsulate an actual relationship.
Yeah.
And the daily boring stuff.
No.
They pop from highlight to highlight to highlight. That is not accurate.
Yeah. Or like when people were getting all bent out of shape about the Da Vinci Code for religious reasons. I'm like, it's fiction. What do you expect? It's not real. And if your faith is so affected by fiction, then you have bigger problems than this book. Mm-hmm. You know, that's kind of my take on it. Like,
it's one of those with like perspective, honey.
If you can't distinguish between the fake and real life, well, yeah.
Yeah, some films and books and that kind of thing can be a good reference, because they do sometimes depict how society is functioning at that moment.
Right.
But it wasn't just a few.
But at the same time, it's still just fiction. It's not, this isn't real life.
No.
And I think once you start thinking that, or you get that into your head, then you're in trouble.
Any final thoughts?
I think I've said all I have to say about this book.
We're disappointed there wasn't more witches.
Yes.
And we are, how do we put this? We're feminist, but not as hardcore. We're more for equality than we are for feminism.
Yes. Yep.
And yeah, I guess with that thought, see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.